The journey is over! We did it! We actually did it. We came to the end of our target goal with Path of Exile for the first time ever, really. With the combined 700 hours, I think I have, in Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2. It's really been a lot of league starts throughout the years, get reasonably into it, enjoying some maps, and then have to go and do something else. It was the first time our goal was to defeat the pinnacle boss, which is the Arbiter of Ash. And that is done now. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit. I actually think there's a main channel video in this. Not to be cruel, but I have to say, I'm very disappointed in the state of Path of Exile 2. And that sucks to say, man, because they are some of the best devs I've ever, like, worked with in any way. Like, they really, really care a lot about what they do. And I know there's a lot of memes that go around the community, like the vision and all this kind of stuff with Jonathan. And I've spoke to him directly about it several times. We don't see eye to eye in a couple of things. But having played it, I guess the end result here is, like, there's still a lot of work to be done on Path of Exile 2. Way more than they thought. And I think they may have got themselves into a weird situation. Because it made sense. I remember being at ExileCon where they were like, we're going to run Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2 congruently because PoE 2 is going to be very different to PoE 1. Now here, I think this is where they've got themselves in a bit of a mess, and we might actually see a change of direction here. They have the winning formula with Path of Exile 1. That's why that game is so popular. That's why that game has pumped, you know, people with 15,000 hours into that game. The people have played it for years and years and years. And they kind of have the winning formula there that works. The end game's solid. It comes down to the league mechanic a lot of times as to whether people enjoy this one or that one. And other than that, the actual structure and foundation of the game is really kind of solid. Has its problems, right? People still complain about having to do the campaign over and over. I agree. For me, it still has a lot of needlessly punishing mechanics. Certainly respecs, I think, is just not good. PoE 2 has tried to reinvent that wheel a little bit. I'll take it in probably a better way of saying this is take it in a different direction. We don't want Path of Exile 2 to be just another version of Path of Exile 1, right? That's not what they're aiming for. However, people are like, I kind of just make it like PoE 1, please. And here's the problem that they've ran into. The PoE 2 is very different, but not in a way that's enjoyable. And people are like, I just prefer it to be the way it was in PoE 1, because that I know and I understand, and it works out really well, and it's smoother, it's a better experience than what you're offering me over here. And that's a really difficult thing to fix. I've no doubt they can fix it, but if the fix is just to make it like Path of Exile 1, I think they'll consider this a failure, and maybe just roll the games together and change direction completely, which would have been an enormous waste of time, resources, and energy, but sometimes you got to bite the bullet on these things. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but it's pretty clear that the the alternative offer that's been put on the table so far with Path of Exile 2, certainly its endgame, is not palatable to people. So think of it like your favorite beverage, right? It's awesome. You made this drink, right? You made this drink that's wildly successful. People love it. And then you're like, oh, but we can also make this alternative flavor of this drink. And people go, I just don't like that. I just prefer the original one. And it's like, that's tough, dude. Let's talk about it in a little bit more granular detail here. I'm not going to spend too long on it. Like I said, I think there might be a main channel video in here with more specific things than you're going to get in a TDP. The biggest issue so far for me with Path of Exile 2's endgame is pacing. The pacing is obnoxiously bad. Like, really, really bad. The idea is that you're supposed to be a Doriani. It's going to guide you through the endgame. You reach the endgame, you finish the campaign, you finish your interludes as they are right now. That eventually will be the campaign. And then the game is to guide you to where you're supposed to go, right? You do have to take these things as if it's not somebody who has thousands of hours or hundreds of hours of experience. You have to at least guide a potentially new player into what you're supposed to do. And this does not work in any way, shape, or form. And it's surprising, and this is the disappointing part, is it doesn't even feel like this has been tested, because on paper, this doesn't work. The system doesn't integrate well with what the game is trying to tell you. So the way the game works, for those of you who haven't played it, is it will point you on this big atlas, this like giant overworld. which is very visual, with all these linked nodes. So to get to D, you have to go through A, B, C, and then you'll reach D. And it'll tell you, like, you need to cleanse the corruption in an area, a corrupted nexus. Now, these are randomly located within the map. So you'll see one when you start. Like, they seem to have created a starting area which will contain one. So you know what you're looking for, right? So you'll see this red sort of goopy area, and in the middle of it, it will say this is a corrupted nexus. And you'll path to there. You'll go A, B, C, D, E, F. And you'll get there and you'll clear it, and the area will become cleansed. And then it will update you to say, okay, you did that. Good for you. Now go and do that again on a higher tier map. And it goes like 1, 3, 6, 9, and so on. So it's like 3-step jumps each time. So and the idea is to work up the level of your maps. So you're getting better loot. You're getting better rewards. But the level's getting harder. And you'll be upgrading your character along the way. In theory, that makes sense. In practice, not even close. Like, it's absolutely just not working. And a big reason for this is the world map just does not work. I know people have been saying this for years. I do want to remind people that they are changing this. They are aware of it. They're changing it. It didn't come this league. And they have openly said, yeah, we're reworking the endgame. It's going to come in the next league. My fear with that is, because you might be sat there saying, yeah, they're going to change it. There's no point in complaining about it anymore. They're going to change it. My fear is that they still don't want it to be like Path of Exile 1, because then it's just two of the same game, right? Essentially, from a mechanics standpoint. And they're going to try and hold on to this kind of system. So is that a problem? A little bit. It's a little bit of a problem. First of all, finding the corrupted areas is just a giant pain in the butt. It's a real pain in the butt. I have defeated the pinnacle boss. I have still not done a tier 9 corrupted area because I haven't found one. I literally haven't found one. By going through the map and looking at different nodes, I literally haven't found one, which is really funny because that at my current quest in terms of where the game is guiding me is to do a tier 9 corrupted area. I'm farming tiers 15s, corrupted up and everything. I'm juicing them up, as not to like extreme degrees. This is a never-ending scaling game, but my character is really strong, and he's clearing everything, and we still haven't found his corrupted areas, which is just hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. I've defeated the pinnacle boss by cheating in a way. I'll talk about that in a second. But I'm so far past what the game is trying to get me to do that it's nonsense. And a big part of that is this random layout of the overworld. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. You just got to pick a direction and go. You can aim for towers because you can kind of see towers popping through the fog, which will unveil a little bit of the area like Ubisoft and hope that that sees something. But I've cleared like 4 and it's not found any, so I've got to go and do another one. And just keep hunting these things down. This overworld idea, in the foundation idea of the overworld, I just don't think works. And one of them is you don't know where anything is, so you just have to hope and pray when you go in a certain direction. The second one is you just don't have any choice over the maps you run, which is just not fun. Foundationally, it's not fun. That might not seem like the most detailed analysis, but it's not. It's really not. You end up doing a bunch of maps that you just don't like because you have to path through them to get somewhere else. And again, this comes down to the idea of we want you to be doing more widespread variety maps rather than locking in and focusing on certain ones. I totally disagree. In a game like Path of Exile, where choice is everything, player choice matters, and you want to build your atlas to say, I want to focus on Abyss, this specific mechanic, or Delirium, or I want to focus on rituals. There are certain maps that are more conducive to that, and therefore those are the maps I prefer. I said this in a previous video, a better solution is to have map design that is more conducive to different mechanics, and thereby the variety will appear. But I always come back to this, and I've had this problem with World of Warcraft in the past, and an argument I've had endlessly with them, is I don't know why you care. If some guy wants to prepare 100, 150 of one type of map, like Penitentiary, they really like that map layout, it works really well with their mechanic, and they go out of their way to get a whole bunch of those maps so that they can just run them, they can turn brain off, they can put some shows on, they can put a stream on, and they can just farm that map that they really enjoy over and over again. Why do you care? And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Why do you care? They're playing your game, they're invested into your game, they're having a good time, and they're doing it the way they want to do it. This sounds like Shadowlands, right? It sounds like Shadowlands. You're taking that player choice away by saying, no, we don't want you to do that. We want you to run this whole bunch of maps where maybe a couple of them are fine. One thing I've found with the BIS is that, which is my preferred mechanic, is that it just doesn't work on certain maps. It'll spawn, but it won't spawn what it's supposed to because the map layout doesn't allow for it. So it's just wasted. And it's very frustrating because it's like, oh, okay, we've got like Sun Temple. This place just sucks because the Abyss is going to spawn in front of a giant sun, which is going to burn you constantly, and you got to keep dropping in and out, you know, at least with my character, and it's just really annoying and frustrating. Whereas if I do it over here, not only do I get more nodes because they can physically spawn in that world, blah, blah, blah. This lack of player agency, I think, is a misstep, a real misstep. The lack of player agency and just being frustrated with finding areas that you want to go to and just kind of hoping and praying things appear. And if they don't, they don't. Needless to say, it has a lot of tweaks to do. I'm already at the point, and I haven't played anywhere near as much as some other people, where the map's just too damn big at this point. All I care about is the fringe edges because I'm looking for stuff. And the map is now so big, the Atlas, and you can't zoom out. You can't do much. You can set like checkpoints, but you can't do anything else. Is you're just scrolling around this giant map to look for stuff. And you're like, okay, maybe something's up here. And then you click into it, but then you're like, oh, I need to roll this tablet or whatever. So you go out. Then you come back in and you can't really remember exactly where you were. It's like, okay, it was a node that was up here of amongst, you know, several hundred nodes. It was around here somewhere. Okay, there it is. That's what I want to go for. And it's just a slow, tedious process. It's beautiful. It's very pretty. It's a very pretty map, but it's not functional. It slows everything down. And I know they want PoE 2 to be a slower game, which is fine in terms of gameplay with combos and things like that. That gives it that differential sauce compared to some PoE 1 aspects. But that doesn't mean that you make the game, you know, cumbersome. That's not the same thing. And it is cumbersome. It's very cumbersome. It's less exciting and less enthralling. Rather than having a bunch of stuff ready to go. Because I've been teaching myself the proper habits, the more efficient things. Have a dump tab in the map, dump everything back in the map, and then check everything later. But you still end up with this thing where you've got to get your tablets sorted. You can't preload them with a bunch of them because mine goes to 10 or whatever. And sometimes they get disjointed depending on the map you do. Then you've got to go and fish out the other one, and then you've got to roll them. It's like I have to do so much preparation for simple stuff. That's not very fun. I ended up in this scenario, again, coming back to the pacing. These are the two things I want to touch on today. I'm done with the league now. The league mechanic was terrible. I think that's a universally agreed thing. The temple thing just was a complete failure in my eyes. Which is fine. Some league mechanics are going to be good, some are bad. You know, trying things, adapting, iterating, what did work, what didn't. Those things are fine. I'm not too bothered about the league mechanic. Like, I just skipped it at the end of the day. I was like, I'm just not doing it. It's a waste of my time. But what I found was just guidance by the game, and this comes back to the blind playthrough, and I'm always considering potentially new players, because I do think PoE 2 is a jumping in point for a lot of people who missed the jump off of PoE 1, and now that game is too deep, too complex for a lot of people to pick up and go, compared to the people who have been playing it for, you know, years at this point. And they're missing the boat on that because the guidance is poor. What would I like to see? I think the Atlas needs to kind of go. It's hard to think of a way of completely redoing that without taking away what its core function is. Like, it's poisoned at its very core for me, and I think they have to completely think about redoing it in some way. It's a nice idea, I just don't think it practically works for this game. I'm going to put more thought into it. How would I fix it is a totally different subject. But what I do know is that after playing it for, I think, maybe 30 hours... I know it's not a lot in PoE terms, but 30 hours after being in the endgame is that I just wasn't having fun. And everything about it started to annoy me. Everything. And for the last few hours I played yesterday off stream. I'd killed Arbiter of Ash, and I was like, right, I'm going to play a bit more and try and hunt down this corruption. I played for 4 hours, and I didn't find anything. And I was like, this is just not fun. I'm just moping around this map looking for stuff because I like completing quests. I enjoy doing that, right? And I want to see if I want to get the Atlas points, right? I want to do that. There's things I want to do, And ultimately, I was like corrupting my highest tier maps and doing them, and I was getting Atlas points for doing that, and not for what the game is trying to tell me to do. And along the way, it was like, okay, I've got to go through here, 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 rather than being able to lock in and be like, okay. Like in POE 1, you have a bunch of maps. It's like, okay, now you need to do this one, and you need to do one of a new one, right? It's simple, and then it unlocks the nodes nearby. It's like, okay, I need to complete all these along the way, and I get Atlas points as I move my way through this system. And I have a nice, simple focus that I can just work on and do everything once. This time, it's like, I can just go hours and hours without getting any Atlas points. And I know that there'll be players out there who's like, well, if you do this, this, and this, and you go in one direction, there's all these ways around it. But looking at it from the perspective of somebody who's trying to engage with the system for the first time and utilize it in the way it's expected, and following the vision, which is like, oh, you've uncovered a merchant, now you've got this unique map, now there's a bunch of like little ones around here. I'm playing it from that perspective where it doesn't work. I want to be clear on this. If you've played enough to found the way around this system, that's the problem with the system. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you've had to find there's a technique, there's a meta where you bypass this entire process to get around its cumbersome nature, then that middle bit needs fixing. That's my thoughts. So yeah, disappointed. The boss, by the time I got to the Arbiter of Ash, we should mention this briefly. So the Arbiter of Ash, it turns out you needed boss fragments. Okay, in POE 1 I can kind of focus down and get them done, you know, get Maven witnesses and things like that, and I know what I'm looking for. In this, no. Apparently there are citadels. I've never found one. They're randomly located somewhere on the Atlas. Sometimes they're close, sometimes they're not. And you need to find 3 of those. Like I say, I'm probably, I don't know, 50 hours in from the end game, something like that. I couldn't put an exact figure on it. I've never seen one. I still haven't found corrupted areas. And so I bought them because I had plenty of money. So I just bought them, and by the time I got there, I'd killed it in 3 goes, having never seen the boss before. I didn't even know what half the mechanics did. My character was so strong by the time I was just like, I'm done, and I want to just fight this thing. I actually did it because I was fearful. I was like, we're kind of done with tiered maps, you know, besides giga juicing them and doubling them up and things like that, I'm a little worried we're going to be overgeared for the boss because we're really strong. And I was. And so I got like this flaccid ending, which if I would have played normally as a solo player, hunting down the fragments myself, God knows how strong I would have been by the time I actually did this. I would have been inconceivably more powerful than I already am in the game, which is not the way this is supposed to work. You want to be able to target things, right? This is a farming game. I want to be able to target. I'd rather kill the same boss 50 times than hope the boss appears once and then hope it drops the thing, if you get what I'm saying. It's a flip on its head of what I think is the correct way to do it, which sucks. But there it is. I think there's a main video in this. But yeah, disappointing. I had fun getting there, though. The journey was fun. The result wasn't. All right, I'll see you again. Bye, guys.